Welcome to Keeping the Magic, the podcast, a space for open, authentic conversations that guide us home to our true selves and to our magic within. Let's begin. Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm so happy to have Kris Land with us. Kris, you are an award-winning author and conscious creator whose work guides people to awaken through fear, remember their inner truth, and create lives rooted in wholeness and purpose. Welcome, Kris.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm also happy because we're going to talk about your latest book. Your latest book is called The Infinity Within. And I really love the title. And yeah, just the title already says a lot. And I really love the title. And you sent me a copy of your book, and so I could read some extracts and get into the book, and it really resonated in so many ways. So I'm really excited to talk with you today, and so our listeners can tap into what you have to share and get your book. I really recommend it. But let's get into the conversation first.
Fair enough.
So, your book, The Infinity Within, is an award-winning, spiritually resonant exploration of awakening that blends memoir, mysticism, and lived experience. The Infinity Within is a Literary Titan Book Award winner and has been praised by Kirkus Reviews and the US Review of Books. The book invites readers to face fear, not as an adversary, but as a guide calling them back to their own inner truth. Through poetic dialogue, vivid nature imagery, and reflective insight, the book offers both a mirror and a map for those ready to awaken beyond limitations. That is, I mean, just reading it, I'm vibrating. My being is vibrating to those words. So, yeah, wow. And again, I said I started to read your book, and I went through different pages, different moments of the book. I couldn't read it all, obviously, and wow, I wanted to get into it. I really wanted to get into it, and yeah, I have selected some parts that I really loved, and I'd love to talk about today. But before we dive in deeper, may I ask you what pushed you to write The Infinity Within, your book?
Absolutely. So it started many years ago, 40 plus years ago is actually when I wrote the book.
Right.
What had happened is I grew up in North Dakota. I was very much an introverted, what would be considered a computer geek person. And so I kind of marched to my own drum. And I started selling Apple II computers when I was in junior high, which ages me a bit. And one of my customers who bought an Apple II for me wanted to do accounting on his computer. And this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I knew how to program, and he knew what he needed. And so we did that. And then a couple of years later, we sold the company for a bunch of money. And then about 6 months after that, I fell into a deep depression. And it comes along the lines of the stories of how people win the lottery and destroy their lives. And for me, I had a particular perception on that. And that was at the age of 17, I'd done everything I was told I was supposed to do to be successful. And I was left with the deep question of, now what? What's next? What am I supposed to do? I've achieved what I thought were all my goals. And so that got me into a place of creating 3 goals that I'll never be able to fully accomplish, but I can always work on daily. So by creating those 3 goals, I was able then to kind of stair step into the next place and get out of depression. I got hired by a bank in San Diego, and my boss's name was Kris as well. And in one of our discussions, he talked about how he was an atheist and didn't believe in any religions. And even though I don't have any problem with people wanting to believe anything they want to believe, for me, it didn't sit right for him.
Oh, yeah.
So I got very curious about it and started really taking a look into what all that meant. And I ended up coming up with 4 questions that when you ask them, it shows that all the benefit is in believing we have a soul and all the downside is in believing we don't, regardless of whether we do or don't.
Wow. Okay.
So it's not so much proving that we have a soul, but it's showing that all the win is actually in each of us believing we have a soul.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
So from there, then I have what I call the trifecta of the stool, which is, so there was this kind of aha moment of, okay, yeah, we have a soul. What is it? And it wasn't that I didn't believe we had a soul. It's just I never really put a lot of attention there. The other part that fed into the second leg on the stool was during my growing up years, I had many different not normal things happen to me. I had started with out-of-body experiences at age 6. I had a near-death experience at age 15 that was just as easily could have been a full-on death experience. And many other things that we're told can't happen, shouldn't happen, they're imagined, whatever the thing is, but they actually did happen. And I have in quite a few of the cases, actually proof. And so it changed my perspective on how life looks, what is actually going on and what's real. Mm. And then the third part of the leg, or the third leg on the stool, was I was very curious growing up also about theologies and different like as many as I could get my hands on. So we're talking like Egyptian, Sanskrit, Gnostic, Catholicism, Christianity, Buddhism. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Right.
And so I did a lot of deep diving into those. So that left me back to the soul part of, okay, if we have a soul, what is it? Mm-hmm. And then through a set of questions and kind of working through, and then what kind of ended up becoming kind of a download when I was 19 and 20, is I ended up putting the entire book and the construct and the ideas in notes. And then I hired a ghostwriter.
Right.
And then the ghostwriter kept wanting to make it her own story. And so I ended up firing the ghostwriter.
Wow.
And I was not an author at the time. So I put all my notes in a filing cabinet and they sat. But the difference is now that I'd gotten these downloads, written all these notes, kind of looked into and really asked questions about what this meant and what this construct looked like, the rest of my life is operated pretty much from that vantage point.
Right.
And so then fast forward, I'm living in Texas now, and I started writing books and becoming an author about 5 years ago in an area I was very comfortable with, which is a hobby of mine, which is building houses.
Right.
And so that book became a series, and it's been doing extremely well. It's called How to Build Your Dream Home.
Right.
And from that, I became comfortable being an author and saying, okay, I can actually take my ideas and put them to paper. And then my wife, when she was growing up, she had some pretty significant challenges as a child and growing up. And so she would always ask me, she still does, how I look at life, how I perceive life, how life operates for me. And we would have discussions that came from the book and the book content. And so the beginning of 25, she said, this book has helped me, the ideas from the book have helped me so much. You need to finish this book.
Right.
And so in the first 3 months of 25, I did nothing but take my notes and write the book, which originally was going to be called The Soul Path or Your Soul Path.
Okay.
And eventually I landed on the idea of the infinity within, and then published that mid of 25. So there's the short version.
Right. Yeah, I really love I was actually thinking while you were telling all that sometimes only afterwards do we understand that we are not ready, and only afterwards do we understand why maybe you, in a way, only got to write your own book and to publish it only recently after so many years. Do you have a question? Did you actually add things because you had taken notes many, many years ago, but with all the years in between and your experience, did you add to that, or really just basically go more deeper, but you didn't feel like you were adding anything new thanks to your experiences?
Absolutely. So most of the book, I would say 90% of the book was written. It was finished.
Right.
The ideas, the concepts, the constructs. The only thing that that I ended up adding to the book was a little bit more, and I don't go into it very deep even in the Infinity Within, and there's a whole reason behind that and where it's going to come next. But the Gnostics talk about the Archons.
Right.
And it turns out the Bible talks about the Archons, which is fascinating to me, because normally the Bible doesn't really go off on tangents about other gods. But the Archons, based on the Gnostic point of view, are the gods, or the gods that created our reality that we live in.
Right.
And in the dark version, the Gnostic version, they actually are beings that trap souls in this construct, in this game, in order to feed on emotion, and most directly negative emotion. And so that's kind of where the whole Archon concept comes from.
Right.
I took a little different view on that. I'm not saying that's wrong, and it may be very correct, but the way I looked at it and the way I wrote it in the book is, if we're these soul beings, we're probably pretty smart, and we're probably not going to hand over control of our beingness to some other godlike entity, right? So if that's the case, how do the Archons play, and what role do they play if we wanted them in this game, but not to own us, so to speak?
Right.
And it actually kind of made sense. And I'm going to take a segue, and I'm kind of cheating by jumping around, but I'll ask you a question. Have you ever played tic-tac-toe? Do you play it now?
Sorry?
Do you play it now?
I don't, actually.
How come?
I don't know. Like, I just forgot, or I don't know.
It's a very simple game. It's pretty boring pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, once you figure out where the X's and O's go, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay. So just like that, humans don't really go back to boring games or games they've completely figured out, because there's just not much to do there. So now imagine a soul playing a game. We'll call it the game of Planet Earth. They're probably not going to pick tic-tac-toe to play. They're going to pick a difficult game, a game that challenges them, right? And allows them to experience emotion and things like this.
Right.
Well, then the Archons kind of make sense if, and I'm cheating by jumping around in the book, but if we're in the game of Earth and our turns are basically lifetimes, and each turn we've set aside, there's some rules we can go through in a bit if you wish, but basically each turn we're supposed to do and accomplish and experience certain things.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we get to do the turn over and over.
Right.
And over again.
Right.
Until such time as we actually do what we were set aside, and then we move on to the next turn and the next turn.
Yes.
So the Archons actually fit in there in order to add disillusionment, place fear in front of us, place doubt in front of us, modify the frequencies so that we're not in resonance with the direction we're supposed to be going. So they're here, in at least in the way I'm looking at it, is they're actually a part of the game and designed to make our turns more difficult, to make us actually really have to work at doing what we've set aside, because otherwise it'd be a very boring game.
Yes.
So the construct and the ideas from the Gnostic point of view and the Bible and other religions of the Archons is the one thing I did add into the book that was not there in the original downloads. Okay.
Talking about your book, you actually use a fictional character called Gabe. Is Gabe you, in a way?
So, kind of. When I wrote the book, I could have easily written kind of just a memoir and a life story and those things. But I didn't want to place the reader in the seat of having to choose between believing what I'm saying and not, and considering this to be reality in the way I'm seeing it, and feel like they're having it forced upon them.
Right, yeah.
So even though a lot of the book is based around a non-fictional memoir of things that did happen to me and life that happened, I wanted to make sure the readers understood that my goal is not to force any of this on them. And so it's done through Gabriel, as you said, Gabe. He goes by Gabe. Now, I intentionally chose the name Gabriel
Yes.
as the Archangel Gabriel and what he
Ah,
represents.
right.
But Gabe is the fictional character that goes through life and experiences and then meets his mentor at about age 20, Elias,
Right.
which coincidentally is about the time that I started getting my downloads for writing the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of time parallels, but it is really designed where you're reading about Gabriel and his life through a fictional lens.
Okay.
And then you take from it or mirror from it what you want and leave the rest behind.
I love that. Take what resonates with you, yeah, simply what resonates, and leave what you don't want to take. Yes. I really love that, because sometimes, especially when we talk about spirituality, it's very easy to want to kind of impose ideas, and so many people do that, and I guess it's kind of the human part that we are, and I find it so important to leave that freedom to one to decide and feel, yes, there is no superiority. I'm not superior than you. I don't know better than you. However, I have discovered truths. I have this knowing, this remembering, and I want to share with you. And if it resonates, well, great.
And
Yeah.
if it doesn't, that's okay too.
Exactly, it's okay too. I really love that.
Yeah.
In a way, it does remove also, yeah, some pressure, a lot of pressure. I think we have so much pressure in our world, in so many things that we have to do. We don't need pressure there either. Certainly not, and mostly not there.
Yeah, it's designed to be fun. It's designed to be
Yeah,
entertaining. It's designed to be visually fun. I mean, I added a lot of visual reading about the environment they were in and what place they're in and what's happening. I mean, all the way down to walking barefoot and sticks breaking and rocks crumbling and crushing and noises. It's designed in a way to actually, one of the things our brains are phenomenal at doing when we're reading is creating a visual reality for ourselves.
yeah,
And that's, a lot of people, I've had many discussions about the idea of, okay, so I read a book. Let's say I read J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit.
mm-hmm.
And when I read it, I remembered it to be so much more powerful than the movie, even though the movie that they did was fantastic. Right?
Yes, yeah.
Well, why is that? Well, that's because when I'm reading, I'm actually creating the movie visually in my head, right? And I'm not being restricted by the pictures. Now, granted, again, the movie's fantastic, and I would definitely suggest anybody go see it. But still, it's within the confines of their visualization of what the book is, not what my brain created when I'm reading.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to take very careful and have very careful attention that when I was writing The Infinity Within, that kind of visual drive was there, that while you're reading and you're going through this relatively fun and heavy stuff, but that you also get this environment being created as pictures for you as you move through it, or a movie as you move through it.
Right. So you're using the imagination and in a way being able to dream and kind of like, yes, project yourself into a scenery or into your imagination. Exactly. That actually I really love. And I wanted to talk about the orchid hush. The orchid illusions, where Gabe would basically, that's what I summed it that way, but where Gabe would basically put to test an intention and see whether it would manifest, making him understand that wholehearted beliefs truly shape our destiny. And I quote from your book, "As days passed, the orchid illusions no longer felt contrived but natural. It was life responding to unwavering intent, echoing the cosmic teacher's message, we shape reality more than reality shapes us." And I really love that. That really just like, ding, a light came on. I was like, I have to note this down. Really loved it.
Thank you.
And yeah, so my question to them, I mean, there could be many questions, and maybe you would like to say something spontaneously about this quote, but What was the motive, I'd say, for you, or may I say, Gabe, to understand this truth or to test this truth or this belief? It is belief.
So you've now asked about 3 or 4 questions.
I have, haven't I? Oh gosh, I always do that. Okay, you pick a question.
So the idea of the orchard illusions is that is what we're told from childhood up is real. The illusion is actually what we're told is real, and what's real is actually behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
And that fear and doubt keep the curtain in place, and belief and the removal of doubt allow us to see past the curtain and remember who and what we are and what we're capable of doing.
I love that. Wow.
So a perfect example, one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite parts of the movie is Matrix, where Neo is meeting the Oracle for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of kids in the waiting room. And this one kid is bending this spoon. And Neo says, "How are you doing that?" And the child answers back, "It's not so much that I'm bending the spoon, but realizing it's not really there anyway."
Yes.
So fear and doubt keeps what we're told is real in place, keeps us feeling small and disconnected. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different groups, societies, mechanisms to keep us feeling small and disconnected. But when we start paying attention to what I say is there are no such things as coinkydinks, meaning that there's little miracles happening daily to us.
Yeah.
And we just need to be listening and paying attention.
Exactly. Yeah. I believe in that so much. So much. We just, I say quite often, we just have to know how to look. It's all around us, but you just have to open your eyes and want to see it, but it's just there. Well, and
yeah, as children, this is a fun story piece I usually give people, which is as children, and I'm going to turn this into a question. How many times have you heard of children seeing ghosts?
Many times.
So what is the natural reaction that the parents typically do for a child that comes to them and says they see ghosts or something that's not normal?
It's not real. It's not true. You didn't see it. It's not possible.
You had a nightmare. You dreamed it. You ate the wrong food. There's all kinds of things. Now, parents are saying this for what they feel is very comforting and real reasons, right? They're saying this because they see that their child is scared. And from what they were taught, the best way to calm that is to say, well, it's not real. It didn't happen. It's make-believe.
Yeah.
However, it also, it's funny in today's world, we have this concept of a word called gaslighting.
Yes.
It's actually a form of gaslighting, even though we're not intending it.
That's true. That's true.
What's real for me, maybe I really am seeing ghosts, and you're telling me that I'm not, and that it's imaginary and it's not real, right?
Yeah.
But what that really does, and again, the parents are coming from a place of love. They're not doing this to harm the child.
No, for sure. Yeah.
But what it is doing is it's setting the child up for these not normal things to be not real, and reality to be you're this small, non-connected being.
Yes, non-connected being. Yeah.
These things don't happen, right?
Yeah.
So we're taught from a young age up to ignore these small miracles.
Yes.
And to not listen to them.
Yes.
And to not believe they can exist.
Yeah.
And so part of what I try to show through Gabe's story is the remembrance of what we saw as children and what's really going on behind the curtain.
I really love that. Keeping the magic alive, and remembering that that magic, that innocence, the curiosity too, because when we're children, we're very curious, joyful, and really love that. I also really loved another part. I don't know how much we can get into it, but I was really curious. You talk about near-death expansions. So the title is Near-Death Expansions. And again, I'll quote, because I really love the way you say things. It's really beautiful. Throughout the orchid illusions, we see gentle expansions, controlled miracles, but near-death experiences create expansions, by raw necessity, And that was so well expressed and written. Just to imagine how when you are confronted to those, yes, that raw, violent, non-planned, like this is happening, and you don't have no time. And it's like, it's there.
You either remove doubt and change the outcome to a near-death experience, or it's a death experience.
Or it's a death, wow, really? Or it's a death experience.
Right. It's the thing about NDEs, or near-death experiences, is they're very black and white.
Mm-hmm.
You either change the outcome by removing doubt and really touching into what you are, in other words, changing the outcome, or you don't.
So you are saying that you intentionally could change the outcome, for example, of an accident.
People do all the time. Once they remove fear and doubt, if we're in fact infinite beings, then we tap into what we are and we change the outcome if we decide that that's more important than leaving at this time.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I do see that. I guess
I would not suggest this for anybody to practice.
I know, not practice. If it happens to you, you have a choice. Do not practice, though.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about an NDE is you really do have to eliminate 100% doubt, and you touch into what you really are very, very dramatically. But because it's so black and white, it's not something I would suggest anybody tries. I mean, this gets back to, again, the Matrix, where Neo and Morpheus are jumping across big buildings. And now this is done in a simulation of a simulation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the simulation where it can kill you. It's in a simulation that's designed to protect you if you fail.
Yes.
And so when he jumps across the buildings, he doesn't believe he can. Doubt takes over, and he jumps, and then doubt takes over, and what does he do? Plummets to the ground. Now, in that simulation, the ground is elastic, and he doesn't die from it. But that's an example of where doubt plays. What Morpheus was showing him is that as soon as you can remove doubt that you can't jump this distance, you actually do jump the distance.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as there is a grain of doubt and fear in there, you don't jump the distance.
Yeah. Even just the grain of doubt is enough to actually, and I have really noticed that for myself. And it's really something that became quite clear to me. And it's really like one of those realizations, which I feel is I have kind of integrated and fully like embodied, rather than just like trying to understand with the mind. I really understand that. And I feel like there's a slight doubt, it's not going to happen, which is fine. Again, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe it's not meant to happen. Maybe I have something else to learn. But I have that awareness that if there is a slight grain of doubt, then yes, the chances, or the big chances, are that it just won't happen the way you would like it to, at least.
Absolutely. In the orchard hush part, what Gabe learns to do is that every time that grain of doubt appears, is to pick it up, accept it, and then say, you're no longer serving me anymore, and move back to the place of believing you can.
Oh, I love that. Acceptance. And I do believe that acceptance dissolves whatever is there, slowly but surely.
Exactly right.
That's really beautiful. Wow, so many treasures. My goodness.
Yes, it's interesting. When in my lifetime, I've done a lot of things that would be considered not normal. And what I find, and this gets back to the Archons and the whole concept of making the game challenging, is that let's say I want to use telekinesis and move an object across a table. Something relatively small. I mean, it's not small, but it's small. And let's say that I go ahead and do it. What I find is, even with all these ideas and constructs and things that I've built over time that make a lot of sense to me and I believe in them, that when I move the object, there's two emotions that fall into place immediately.
Mm-hmm.
The very first emotion is elation. Oh my goodness, I actually did what I was setting out to do. This is fantastic. I moved the object. This is incredible.
Yes.
But within milliseconds following that emotion is the emotion, no, you didn't. That's unreal. Gravity's shifted. The wind blew. Whatever. This really didn't happen.
Yes, that's so true. So typical.
And
yes.
So getting out of that programming state that we've been taught as a child up, and then think about this, if we're in multiple lifetimes and every single lifetime has similar characteristics, then that means that all of our parents in all of those lifetimes have done the same thing, because that's what they've all been taught.
Yes.
Which is, it's not real. You are small. You are disconnected. And so these generational beliefs empower fear and doubt to stay in our way. And so when we start doing things like telekinesis or moving objects or whatever it is that you want to do that's not normal, and then you do it, I can tell you from my experience that you immediately fall into elation, which is great. I did it, but extremely fast. Doubt and fear shut down. Oh my goodness, this is too scary. I shouldn't have done this. Now what am I going to do? Because I now know I can do this. Oh my goodness, I'm fearful. I'm scared. Or no, I didn't do it. Or I dreamt it. Or all these reasonings of why you can't.
And probably right after, I will never be able to do that again.
It'll take a moment to get rid of all that stuff that dropped in, and accept it and let it go, and accept it and let it go, and go back to the place of, you know what, I did this, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
Because once you do it, the doubt has been very diluted. Once you've done something like that, doubt and fear, they don't have nearly the hold.
Yes.
And then every time you do a little thing, and it can be a little thing, you erode dramatically the control fear and doubt have.
Yeah. I do believe in that. Eroding the power fear has, or doubt. I really believe that, because, for example, me personally, I would say it was very strong. And the more I have experienced trust, belief, and really working on that within, it has less power on me. And sometimes to some extent where it just does not have power at all. And I feel fully confident, aligned, and So I do believe, again, with persistence and consistency and repeating something, it becomes natural. And we kind of integrate naturally.
Exactly right. Yeah, there's a school in India now, and I saw a little report on them. And what they do is they have kids sitting in front of these they're like needles on wood, and then over the needle they have a pyramid of paper, and they put a glass globe over it.
Yes.
And the kid's job is to spin the paper using just their mind.
Really?
Yeah, they're actually doing this. I mean, this is actually being taught now. And so what's fascinating about that is it seems very silly, it seems very small, and yet what it's doing is it's a peek through the curtain. You get to see the guy behind the curtain when you start spinning it, because when you start moving it, the first time it's like, oh no, that didn't happen. The earth shifted or whatever.
Yeah,
and you come up with all kinds of things, right?
Yeah, you have to find a logical explanation. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I spin it a little bit more, and then I reverse the spin, and I start doing this. It's like, oh, wait, I'm actually doing this. And then of course the fear and the doubt may drop in, but then by having that as an objective thing to do, it's kind of like the child in Matrix bending the spoon. Eventually you become aware that I'm actually doing this. And you're doing it in these pieces. You're doing it, it's very soft, and you're just kind of carving into the doubt and the fear and just removing little bits of it. But by doing that, you start seeing behind the curtain more and more.
Yes. It's actually a wonderful game, isn't it? A very exciting game, I must say, and we can play it all our life, which is great.
And what's interesting is as a child, if these children were not told all these things are unreal and not believable, then they really can move these things. And according to the article and the thing I saw, they were moving them. So by catching it earlier on, when we've just entered the game fresh, meaning that we're a newer being in a newer part of ourselves back in the game. We're more connected at the beginning, I would say. We have less shields as children.
Yes.
We're able to do those things. But now if we start doing them at a younger age, it's much easier to do much bigger and more things as we grow older.
It is. It's harder, isn't it? It's harder. Even just mentioning the conditioning we have. Yes, and all the beliefs that we've, been told and put into our mind, or just, so the conditioning. And it's like learning a language. When we see how children pick up a language so easily, like literally within a few weeks, they can learn a language, when it can take a year for an adult or more sometimes. I won't talk about myself here, but
for me, it's more.
Yeah, it's more. I've been in Portugal for 6 years and I'm still not no, I'm not. So, yep, it's hard. And my children are trilingual. So, they just picked it up, which is fascinating. I'd love to talk about belief again. We have been talking about belief, but I actually prepared this and I noted this down. But belief is a big component in your book and an important notion. It kind of comes back to what we already said, but I'm going to say it anyway. So do you agree if I say without pure belief, you will continue to repeat the same cycles until you understand or you are ready?
So there's a couple layers I'm hearing there. So belief is something that we can have or not have that allows us to get past fear and doubt or not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not that plays directly into accomplishing a turn, meaning doing what we were supposed to accomplish during our lifetime, I think that that's a broader question. And that is that I think that every one of us, being soul beings, when we're entering into this game of Earth, I think we kind of, not from a fate point of view, like we've determined everything that's going to happen, but I think that what we do is we decide, for instance, what family we're going to join, on what part of the planet we're going to join, and what kinds of things we're looking for, and what things we want to accomplish.
Yes.
A very rough outline of what a turn or a lifetime looks like.
Yes.
And we probably plot that all the way out to the end when we decide we're done with the game.
Right.
But when we get in, what our choices are going to be very individualistic. Each one of us is going to have our own soul path, our own things that we want to do in a lifetime and each of our lifetimes. And so whether belief directly, I think belief is very important to how everything works, but I don't think it fundamentally has to be tied to the outcome of a turn.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Right.
Yeah, whether belief is a requirement for you to achieve this turn or this lifetime, that really depends on the choices you make.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
However, I don't know how you would go through life. I mean, I guess there could be people that go through life without belief. Sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know how, because belief can come in many flavors. So you can have belief in good things, belief in bad things, belief in other things. I mean, belief is very flexible in what it can be.
I think I was thinking maybe more of the belief of something being possible. Maybe it's a precise belief then, not a belief that you have, but the pure belief of believing that something can be possible.
Yeah, that's more the belief that directly offsets doubt.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you believe something's possible strong enough, then what you're really doing is also at the same time eliminating doubt by filling it with belief.
That's true. Yes, I love that.
So
That's a good one.
Yeah. So I think those are two parts of the same path.
I don't know if there's anything that you would like to bring up. Is there something that you would like to talk about specifically or maybe mention? Otherwise, I was going to say, what do you hope that the readers find or maybe understand from your book? If there's something that you would love for them to kind of grasp or understand.
In today's world, we've got a lot of crazy things going on. We have things in the technology space, in the political space, in the people space, in religion space. I mean, there's just a lot of
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
And depending, I mean, you could look at a lot of this coming from the concept of the Archons, either the darker version or the lighter version, either one.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that comes out of that is fear and doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would suggest to all of us is that when we feel fear, and that usually starts about here,
Mm-hmm.
and when we start paying attention to the fear that starts, that instead of shying away from it and being blocked or stopped by it, be curious about it.
Right.
Start asking questions like, okay, why am I feeling this? Where is this coming from? How is this serving me now? And does it serve me going forward? So an example, this is a super easy example, but it's fairly real for many of us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that I'm at a job and I've been there for some time and I want to ask for a raise, but I'm scared. I'm fearful of asking for a raise because, and the answer for because can be a lot of different answers.
A lot of things. Yeah.
But let's say it's because I'm fearful I'm going to get fired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that my boss is going to get ticked off and not acknowledge that I want a raise and then fire me, right? So if the fear comes up, I want to ask for a raise and I'm fearful.
Yes.
Well, the first question again is, why am I fearful?
Mm.
Okay, well, I'm fearful because I'm afraid I'm going to get fired. Okay, how is that serving me? Well, I have to have a job in order to make money and those things, right? What happens if I get fired? Well, I lose my job and I have to go look for another job. How does that look? And by asking these questions, it takes the power away from fear from stopping you to giving you conscious choice of which options are okay for you.
Yes.
So when you ask and you start digging into the fear and you say, okay, well, I'm afraid of being fired. Okay, well, how does that look? What does that mean? What happens? Now, instead of being fearful of asking for a raise and stopping, you're saying, okay, well, I'm really afraid of getting fired because these are the things that will happen. And now I can say, well, okay, is that okay for me? Can I survive by losing this job and getting a different job? And what's happened is you've now moved it from controlling you to you having conscious choice.
Right. Conscious choice. Yes.
And that, I think, is a big takeaway.
Yeah. And I also want to mention, well, for those who are listening and they don't have the image, I love that you placed your hand on your chest or your heart space, really showing how it is coming back to yourself, reconnecting to yourself, and in a way, through that fear, trusting yourself. And I really love that. And I actually recommend anyone who, asks those questions or has that doubt or that fear to really, touch, like connect with your body and place a hand, whether it's on your heart, on your belly, and so it's soothing.
Yeah, put your hand where the fear is starting the vibration, where it's coming from.
Right.
Because by touching it, you actually help diffuse it, right?
Yes.
And then as you're diffusing it, you start getting curious about it. You start asking those questions. And what happens is the fear stops having control over you and you start having control over it. And what I say in the book and Elias mentions to Gabe is maybe looking at fear more as a signpost than as something to run away from might serve you better. Yes,
I love that. I use it. I use fear or maybe even anything negative as a helper, as a signal or as a guide to say, why am I feeling that way? Or, okay, how is that true? And to ask those questions. So when they come up, rather than say, oh, here we go again. No, see it. And take a few seconds. And how can I be curious about what came up and why it's there?
Exactly right.
Love it.
Exactly.
Love. I can't wait to read your whole book. Like, I can't wait. I'm so curious. I know there's lots to discover. It's just really fascinating. Where can we find your book, Kris?
Well, I've been very, very blessed. If you you just Google my name spelled Krisland or The Infinity Within, I take over the first 3 pages.
Right.
So you can find me there. The book is available at all the normal places like Amazon, Apple, Barnes & Noble. Of all places, you can get it at Walmart.
Okay.
but there's also, I've been contacted by bookstores all across the world. There's 2 bookstores in Norway, a couple in Barcelona, some in Italy, some in France, that are now selling the book and have really been excited about it.
Yes.
So if your bookstore, if a local bookstore does not have it and you ask for it, the chances are they can get it for you.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, great.
So there's many different ways. Yeah. The Audible version is fantastic. I found a narrator. It took me some time. Mm-hmm. He's read over, I think he's narrated over 750 books.
Wow.
But what's really incredible is that he's narrated for Eckhart Tolle or Tolle.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's narrated for the Dalai Lama.
Wow.
For Dean Koontz. And the list goes on and on and on. So I was super excited to get him as the narrator because he adds a level of resonance to listening to the book that I was really looking for.
Oh, thank you, Kris. That's wonderful. I can only recommend to everyone who's listening to buy the book and to read it. It's fascinating. And
then for those that are
and the cover is
what it looks like.
Yeah, the cover's beautiful. I love the cover. Really love it. Yeah.
That's the book. So that's the book. I just to toot my own horn, so there's this award called the Eric Hoffer Award.
Right.
And Eric Hoffer Award, I think they started in 1911.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And so they're a very well-known book award company. So I've been nominated for Best of Book in the Eric Hoffer group. About 2 weeks ago, didn't even know this was going to happen. Didn't even know it could happen.
Yes.
The Eric Hoffer people get a hold of me and said that my book cover design has been not only nominated, but now met the finalist. So there's only 7 books that made the finalist for the Da Vinci Eye Award.
Oh, wow.
Over thousands of books.
Really?
And so I'm officially a finalist, which means I can actually say it. And then they'll figure out whether I actually won the next level above that. But to be the finalist out of 7 books for the Da Vinci Eye was phenomenal.
Yeah,
and it was out of the blue. I had no idea this was even going to do that. So they asked me to send a copy to them, which I did. And now they're doing the final, concepts and ideas.
Congratulations, Kris.
Thank you. Yes.
I wish you a lot of success. I really believe that, yes, this book must be known and read. And I'm really honored that you came on my show, Keeping the Magic. And thank you so much.
Thank you. I really enjoyed being on your show. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Kris. And thank you to everyone listening to us. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. And I will anyway put some links and everything so you can also find Kris's website and know where to find the book. But it's easy, just like you can even do the research in Google. Yeah, thank you so much and speak soon. Thank you for listening to Keeping the Magic, the podcast. You can listen to more episodes now on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Trust your potential within. Lots of love.